All right. So, well, why don't we just go ahead and get started now? We've got Sean and we've got Lori. Lori, I'm going to seat you as a voting member, so we can get started here. And myself, and we've got Jim back online, Jim Quarto, and we have a guest, George Frampton, online as well. Are there any other people present? Okay. All right. So hearing none, we'll do that. So the first thing I would like to do, well, this is going to be a little bit tricky. So the first thing we need to do is the approval of the minutes from March. However, I think only Amy and Lori and I were there. Because Jim, I don't think you were there last month.
That's correct.
Yeah, let me just pull up. Okay, well, let me do two things then. One is I'll just go ahead and with Lori, myself, Jim, and Sean being present, we will go ahead and I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from the March 2025 meeting. Are there any? Well, first make a motion so somebody can second it. Lori, you're probably going to be the only one that can second it.
I second.
Doing it. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Any opposed? Abstain? Maybe Sean and Jim.
Jen, am I seated or am I not seated?
Oh, yes, Sean, I forgot that you're not, yes, Sean, I'm sorry. Yes, Sean and Lori are both seated as regular members for this meeting.
Okay, I approve.
Okay. Really nothing too controversial. We'll go to just some general updates. The really only thing that's happened in the interim, there's a few things going on with McCormick, with McCulloch, and the engineers and Fred have really made a lot of headway with getting the deed and the lots split up. So the two lots, and Shauna can catch you up and catch Sheila up as well on this separately, but the two lots on McCulloch are now being separated so that we can then title them over and to Habitat for Humanity. The memorandum of understanding, the MOU, has been sent to Habitat from the Board of Selectmen, and that's all in hand. There's no issue there. We're really just now waiting on getting the zoning and planning ZBA approval for the road frontage. So there's no issue with there, and there's don't seem to be any obstacles in our way for getting that accomplished in the next month, or in this month of April, rather, and then handing that over to Habitat for their development. Habitat did, their executive director, Sarah Luffler, she did say, now's the time we need to start fundraising to start, generating some interest and some funds for the build actual part of the project, which is the heavy lift, on that. So, well, although it's been almost a year that we've been working on this, over a year now, that we've been working on the McCulloch properties, Michael Fogliano and Fred have done a great job on getting everything squared away with zoning and planning. So once that is done, I think the third Thursday in April. So once that's done, then we will be on our way to handing that over to Habitat. But like we have always said, the hard part is really generating the funds to actually build the houses on those two lots. So we get through all the, ins and outs of zoning and planning and stuff and all that permits and fees and stuff like that, perk tests and engineering, which the guys have done a great job at. But now we really need to kind of come up with a plan for how we can help Habitat. It's not going to be our job, but we want to be able to help Habitat with how to raise the funds for the properties themselves, or for the builds themselves. And typically those are, about 150,000, 200,000 each. So it's not an easy task, but we want to help them out as much as we can. So any helpful information, any ideas about how you want to start doing that? Possibly what we had talked about before was having a subcommittee or a not necessarily made up of our commission members, but somebody on our commission taking the lead basically on creating kind of a subcommittee, if you will, to help generate interest in funding or providing support rather for Habitat to build these houses. So I don't know if there's any feedback on that, anything that you want to talk about there?
Yeah, and what would be in your mind the expectation that this committee would help raise? Is there a certain dollar amount?
Well, when I think about my time at Habitat, I would say it's basically for the two houses, and in that location, we're talking about a 14 to maybe 1,600 square foot house. So it's not a large house, but it should at least have a family of four or something like that, or four or five, and so accommodate a family of four or five. So what we would be looking at is probably about $250,000.
No,
That's what
I gathered
that's what I have
that,
in
but
my
like,
head.
but like in your expectation, like Habitat, for us to show that we're helping them, like what percentage of like the total cost do you think,
Mm,
like maybe 50,000
mhm.
a house? Like, I'm just trying to figure out
Yeah,
what
it's
like
good.
our goal would be for this committee. I know it's not our job to help them find money, but it'd be helpful.
Yeah. Let me talk to Sarah about that. That's a good point, Sean. I'll see if I can get from Sarah what her instinct is on that. Yeah, so let me get back to the commission on that for sure. I'd say somewhere north of 50,000 for sure per house. So yeah. So I'm thinking around 100. Good point. So I'll talk to Sarah about that, and I will send out an email to everybody. Anything else on the McCulloch properties? Any questions or anything that I may be able to provide? Fred is the expert on the McCulloch properties, but anything else on those?
I had a question, but I'm going to save it until Fred is back. I'm just trying to
Okay.
get I know we've come a long way. I'm just trying to figure out what the next timeline might look like. So
Gotcha. Yeah. Okay, Jim.
Thanks, Jeff.
Yep. And so similar on the engineering work that's going on also for the two other properties on Kimmick. So those are underway. There's not really too many issues there yet. Once Metcalf and his crew have finished up with McCulloch, they're going to move over to the Kimmick property and start work there. That funding is already approved for them. So we will see from there. I don't really have any further information on the Kimmick properties. Yep.
Okay.
Any questions on that? Jim, anything else further that you know?
No, not at this time. I have a meeting to follow up with this, and I have not,
Okay.
but I would like to.
Yeah, no problem. No problem. So so then we did have an opportunity has come up in Rogers Lake area, which is a I don't know if you all remember, and Sean, is probably new to you, but the when Fred and I went out and we surveyed all of the town-owned properties that were well, town-owned properties that were vacant. There were many, many in Rogers Lake, but they were like under 0.1 acres. They were very small, like scissors of lots, triangular, little parking areas or something like that. One of the properties that we looked at was 0.10 acre, and it is a little slice of a lot. I believe that it's 18. I don't have the top of my head right now, but it's just off of when you turn into Rogers Lake. It's just up there on the left, and the abutting neighbor would like to purchase it from the town. And so the Martha and the Board of Selectmen were asking, should they sell it to this person, or do we want to try and convert it into something that affordable housing could use? And so Fred and I's opinion on that, to let everybody know, is just that it's too small of a lot and it's too close to abutting neighbors, basically, to build a proper house on, or any kind of a house on. The neighbor basically wants it just so that he doesn't have a abutting neighbor. And so our opinion is that we would let the town sell it to this person that wants to buy it. And so I just wanted to get the commission's thought on that. It's a very small parcel of land. It's a triangular lot, and it would be very difficult, in our opinion, to put a house on. Not like Kimmick or McCulloch, for sure. Any thoughts on that?
Jen,
Hi,
because
Jen, this is Lori. I would agree that if we don't have like 0.25 acre, which is about 10,000 square feet, I think it would be hard to put a structure on it. So I agree with you and Fred.
Thanks, Lori. Sean, you were going to say?
So I agree with both of you, but could we add a little twist to it? And since it's open space that possibly could have been available to us, the money that they receive for selling it to the neighbor, could we put that into a fund for affordable housing to use for a different project?
That's great. That's a great point. Jim, were you going to say something?
I concur with both of these ideas. Yeah, I don't think putting that much horsepower into a house that would probably be extremely small, if at all, is worthwhile. So, I think one single unit is it's a lot of horsepower to get one. So
yeah,
I agree with both. Yes.
Okay, great. And I'm sorry, did somebody else join since I've been talking?
It's Amy, sorry.
Oh, hey, Amy. Awesome. Thank you. Yeah, sorry they couldn't get you the information in a quicker time frame.
No worries.
Right, that's all right. So Amy, just to catch you up, we've got Lori and Sean and Jim, myself, and we have a guest also, George Frampton, also online with us. And Fred and Anthony are unavailable today.
Okay.
All right. So that's a great point, Sean. Let me call Martha tomorrow and see if I can put that in her wheelhouse, and we'll see if we can make something happen like that. That's a great idea. Didn't think of that. We in fact, one of the things that the commission has been often thinking about, we've discussed this in the past, is do we have a do we have a fund? So that, number one, we're not an LLC. It's not like we were the Old Lyme Housing Commission way back in or a few, this is maybe 10 years ago. So it's not that we don't have an LLC. We don't have a commission that actually has a money that we take in. But one of the things that we were trying to do was actually see if, much like open space and the Lime Land Trust does, is that when a property is sold in Old Lyme, or approved rather for zoning for housing and things like that, that they set aside either money or space for open space. And one of our positions has been that in those instances, rather in addition to open space, that we could actually set aside some of that money or funds for affordable housing. So let's just say there's a 9-house development going in on Buttonball Road, which we know there is, but let's just say there's that happening. Rather than having $100,000 set aside for open space in that area, the developer would be required to set aside some funding for affordable housing, be it there or elsewhere in town. So we've talked about that for a long time. It's not been included in zoning or planning, but that is one of the things that I know that Michael Fogliano is very interested in as he's on zoning, and while zoning is going through a rewrite of the entire zoning regulations now, which they've just started, that's something that we could potentially include in there. So Sean, I think that would fit right in with this idea. All right, so I will take that action item then and get back to Martha and also zoning to see if we can make that happen. But otherwise, I think we're all in agreement that that particular piece of property is just too small to be worthwhile to try to build an affordable housing unit on. And I'm sure, although I have not confirmed, that that Habitat would say the same thing. Okay, so I don't think we need a motion on anything of that. I'll just take that action item to get back to the commission on that. Okay, so let's move on from there. On any other project updates, Jim, do you have any project updates on anything that you've been working on with Fred?
Not at this time.
Okay. All right. I mean, everything looks like it's moving along as good as it can be, and there's been no hiccups. Everything looks like it's going forward to zoning and planning, zoning board of appeals for the road frontage, and that will be done in April, and we can look forward to probably a May or June, probably June transfer to Habitat for the McCulloch property. Any questions on the McCulloch properties or Kimmick?
No.
Okay, awesome. All right, so as far as development opportunities, so we just talked, we kind of merged that in with our conversation there, but so as far as development opportunities go, one of the things for Sean and George's information, one of the things we try to do is look at the tax rolls and things like that to try to find properties that the town owns or the town is about to acquire, foreclosures, things like that, that we could then possibly use and transfer over to use as affordable housing. One of the ways that we try to do that, besides going through the tax rolls, which the current tax collector, Suzanne Thompson, she's been very helpful in generating that data for us. So that's been really, really helpful. But one of the other things that we need to do is once we identify those properties, such as this property in Rogers Lake, is to actually be able to do something with it. So we either have to acquire it, we have to get a builder for it, or we have to get somebody a lender or developer to do something with it. And so that's one of the things that we are looking for funding for, is to acquire some of these properties. And one of the avenues to do that is the Small Cities Community Development Block Grant. So it's SCCDBG. And so the Small Cities Community Development Block Grant is something that comes up every year in the state of Connecticut. It's federally funded by HUD and now to the Department of Housing for state of Connecticut. This year's grant for the state of Connecticut is $13 million, which is distributed to cities that are under 50,000 people, residents rather. And of course, we qualify as one of those cities, but we're very, very small compared to some of the ones that are like 30,000 people, like New London, or things like that. So it's a very competitive grant. And as those of you who know that we were on the call last year when we did this, the timing is very, very short. And the project has to be very, very, very clearly identified, extremely clarified, extremely clear and specific. So last year we were unsuccessful in getting a grant, and we basically were asking for an amount of money just to speculatively buy some property, land, because you can acquire real property with this grant. And then speculatively, then assuming that we would have somebody that would speculatively build affordable housing on it. So there's a lot of speculation. So this year, what I would like to do is to file a very, very specific a specific and determined application if we are going to apply for it, because it is a lot of work. I think I spent like 3 weeks of my life last year doing this, but so I would like to really figure out if we could or should file an application with them but we need to have a very specific purpose for this application. It can't just be, we're going to try to buy some land somewhere at some point in some time, so it needs to be very much more specific than that. And this grant can be used for a variety of things. It's actually a very, very broad categories of things. The only thing that it cannot be used for is to build a house. So you cannot use it to build a house. You can use it to rebuild a house. You can use it to purchase property, the land on which to build a house, but you cannot use it to build a new house. So it's kind of weird in that framework, but you can also use it for sidewalks, lighting, sewers. You can use it for a variety of things. So I've actually spoken with Frank Paparaldo from the Soundview Commission and see if there's any interest there in joining a application together to actually look for some funding. So we'll see how that goes. That was just a side conversation I had with him to see if there was any interest there, because the town of Old Lyme has actually never successfully applied for this grant ever in its history. So last year was our first application. It was kind of a mess. This year I'm going to still apply for it because I'm determined. But but I think that this commission could come up with a really good idea for how to use some funding from the state to enhance, and move our purposes forward, whether it be, I think, the site planning for Kimmick or something else, or the funding, like I said, for Habitat to help them out. So I don't know. I'm just throwing it out there. If there's any ideas, we need to have a very, very specific, dedicated mission here to get this funding. And it's really kind of by the end of April that we need to do this.
It's due the end of April?
The intent to file is April 29th. The actual 150-page document is not due till June 6th. But like I could tell you, I was last year at 11:59 p.m. Emailing them stuff. So it really needs to be done in May for sure. But the intent to file is due April 29th. The actual application is not due, I would say, until May, or end of May, rather.
Yeah, and this
Can
is
I ask a
Sean.
question? Go ahead, Sean, sorry.
Being on that training with you on Monday, and last year you applied for money just to acquire property, but we didn't have any property cited. Unless we can't use it, I don't think we could use it to give money to Habitat for Humanity because that would be towards building the house. Unless we have a piece of land that we are looking to acquire. I know you really want to apply, but I'm not sure we're ready because I don't know of any. And we have to have, 2 hearings with the community to make sure
That's
that they're in
correct.
support. And, the intent, I mean, we could file the intent, but the intent would be very vague until I guess, until like June to find that property. But unless we find a property, I'm not sure I would put my efforts into doing the grant this year. I would put efforts into finding a landowner willing to work with us, knowing it would take time to acquire that land to do affordable housing.
Yeah, that's a very good point, Sean. And what we ran into for sure last year was we had our eyes on some properties, but the owners, were not on board. So I think that's absolutely correct. And George, you were going to say something. I'm sorry, I cut you off.
Well, I wonder whether the money can be used for something that, I mean, if it's so competitive and we don't have a very specific attractive property, it could be used for something a little creative that gets the attention of the people who judge it. For example, create a fund, the money that would be used to purchase and flip 1 or 2 houses that came up for sale and turn them into deed restricted housing. So you take a market-based property and for a fraction, 15 or 20% or less of the fair market value, in effect, subsidize the sale to somebody at market, but it would become affordable or even a local resident, town employee, or deed restricted. And that kind of thing always has to be pretty, quickly done. So it would be easier maybe 150 pages to write a description of such a fund, small fund, and wouldn't take a lot of time and would have a low chance of getting funded, but would look so different that they might take a shot at it or something like that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Isn't that what you did last year, Jen?
Yeah,
All
we
right,
we took a shot at it, and yeah, it was a shot in the dark, but
they want you to specifically tell them an address.
Sure.
yeah.
So they won't let you, and it makes sense, George. Like, we don't know, and it happens quickly, and we need a fund. So our problem is we don't have a fund, and that grant won't cover starting a fund.
Yeah. Yeah, and I
It's
think
hard.
yeah, and so we had so many great ideas from this team last year for ideas, but they were just ideas and they weren't something concrete. And the nature of this grant, and these are professional people doing this, so the nature of this grant is that they want your exact address, they want engineer plans, they want site plans, they want sewer plans, they want all of this up front, but yet you don't have the money to do that because you don't have the money to do that. So, and then actually the funds are not released. Let's just say we were to be successful in getting this grant, the money is not released until November. So you actually don't get the money until November. So it's just even if we said, okay, at my old house was 125 Shore Road. So 125 Shore Road, we need to rehab that place and we need to, build this and that, and we're going to deed restrict it for 15 years. It's all good. Well, you're not getting the money until November of this year, even though you already have to have the plumbing work done today, you know, so it's a conundrum for sure. So what we had thought last year was that the way to go with this is the acquisition of real property rather than the rehabilitation of an existing house or property that the landlord may or may not want to be deed restricted for 15 to 20 years. So anyhow, those are the two things that we had thought about. And so whether or not we can, get a deed restricted property acquired with this fund, we would have to actually identify that property now, like in April, in order to actually put it on the books. And then we would have to have a developer develop it into affordable housing after that. So that's kind of where we are with that. And welcome, Sheila. I see you've joined. Very nice to meet you.
Thank you. Very nice to meet you as well.
Yeah,
I thought I must have misunderstood. I thought that the rest of us were meeting in person. So I'm sitting in this nice conference room with an echo.
How did you
so
get
I
in the
apologize.
building?
Oh, there are
and-
other meetings. I went all the way down to the end door. And so
Oh.
if I go out of camera, it's just me switching to my phone and I'm headed back home, but I'm going to stay put for now.
No,
Thank you.
there were several people trying to get into the building this evening, and they waited till well after 5 o'clock, and they couldn't get in. So so we're now all remote. So
Oh, bummer. And this did start at 5:30 though, correct?
no, 5 o'clock.
I'm really sorry. I'll get it together. I promise.
Well, you're lucky
Wow.
because you got in the building, so that's cool.
I mean, maybe.
That's okay. Well, welcome.
My
welcome.
apologies. Thank you very much.
No worries. No worries at all.
Mm.
No worries at all. I'll catch you up. Maybe we can talk tomorrow. No problem.
Thanks. Yep, thank you.
So okay, so that's good. So that on that then what Sean and I will do is try to figure out if there's a clear path basically for applying for this small cities grant. One of the requirements, just to back up a few steps, is that there is a mandatory training, and it just so happened that Sean and I happened to get into this training, and it was the other day, Monday, and so you have to, if you don't go, if a representative from the town does not attend the training, the town is actually ineligible to apply for any grant whatsoever. For this small cities grant. So it's a series of mandatory steps that the Department of Housing of Connecticut has to take or does take. And so one is the mandatory training. The second is the intent to file, which is a simple form that I will do, whether or not we do intend or not to file. I will do that. And then the third thing is that you have to have a certified they call it a certification process, and that doesn't happen until actually September and October of every year. So you can only be certified in September and October, but the grants are handed out in June, on June 6th. So it's just a little bit of a backwards process for me to figure it out, but nevertheless, I did get certified last year, so I am certified, but I'm the only one certified in the town of Old Lyme to do that. And so then what will entail is that any grant that the town of Old Lyme wants to apply for under this Small Cities Community Development Block Grant, CDBG, would have to basically come from myself. And so now Sean is actually also trained, so now Sean can do that as well. But we need to be very, very clear on what we're asking for. And my position for the town of Old Lyme is that although I'm on the Affordable Housing Commission, that this grant could actually be used for other things as well. It doesn't have to be used for housing. So that's why I was in touch with Frank, as far as Soundview goes and the issues down there around sewers and septic and sidewalks and lighting and park benches and Halls Road and things like that. Nothing to do with the Hall Road overlay, but just other things that, these funds could be used for other things as well. So what I was thinking was that I would just ask their commissions if they were interested in also applying for this as a joint sort of effort for the town of Old Lyme, not necessarily for housing, but for the town of Old Lyme. And what do you guys think?
Well, I think it would go good with the sewer projects.
Yeah,
Jen, if I can clarify, I have a question.
Sure.
You mentioned sidewalks. I'm not going to get into the details right now, but there is an area in our town that people walk on all the time. It's not safe for kids who walk on it or for the public. And it's something I wanted to bring up in the future. Not in the affordable housing forum, but to Martha. Is this grant applicable to sidewalks that are not associated with a housing plan or, for
yes.
an affordable housing project?
100%, yes.
Okay. I'll limit my comments here then, and I'll talk to you about this another time.
Okay.
Thanks.
Yep. And like I said, I'll file the intent to file next week. So we at least get our foot in the door. The door's not closed, so we're in there. And then, but if the commission here has any other specific ideas that we could utilize those funds for, or potential funds for, then we definitely have to discuss that at the May meeting. That has to be solid during the May meeting. So anything you can come up with between now and then, not saying we don't want to waste the funds, obviously, but we definitely want to take advantage of what the state of Connecticut is providing already. And then the Department of Housing and the HUD federal funds have provided. And one of the things that annoys me is that the funds are there, but just nobody is taking advantage of them. So let's just get on it. It's just going to be paperwork, and we just have to have great use for it, purposeful use, for it, and we could potentially do some good for the town. So that's where I'm at on it.
Hi, Jen, it's Lori. Just two questions and clarifications. One, I remember
ma'am.
we talked about the town having a grant writer like maybe a year ago. Did
Yeah.
anything come of that so that you don't have to spend so much time?
Absolutely not. Good point. But so there is a potential grant writer that I believe zoning is utilizing, but that person has not been approved or has not gotten funded at all.
Okay.
And it's very good. One of the things that is evident to me is that all of the grant writers that I've encountered so far, be it from RiverCog or otherwise, their payment is from a successful grant application. So if they
Right.
if they write a very good and if they're successful in getting a grant, they actually can get up to, in this case for the Small Cities CDBG grant, 8% of the funding.
Mhm.
So it's a lucrative business if you can do it, but it's a commission, like if the successful commission basis. So it's so if you don't get the grant, you don't get any money. If you do get the grant, you get 8% of the grant. So or up to in this case up to this 8%, or I think it's up to $30,000, something like that. But so it's a lucrative business if you are very good at it. But you have to be successful. If you're not successful, you don't get anything.
Yeah. My second question was just that you and Sean attended a meeting on Monday, and is he able to help write grants, or what was the meeting for on Monday? The training?
Oh, so this was the mandatory training for the Small Cities Community Development block grant. So the
Okay.
SCCDBG grant, you must attend this mandatory workshop. It's not really training. It's a work, they call it a workshop. There's like 20 presenters in 4 hours that present things. It's the same as last year. Almost the exact same slides were used as last year, same thing. So, but the Department of Housing from state of Connecticut puts that on. And if you don't register and attend that, you are ineligible to apply for a grant from the state of Connecticut. Or for this grant from the state of Connecticut. So it's a
Thank you for
different,
attending, both of you.
yeah, yeah. And I roped Sean into it. And so, but we just have to have coverage, so I need more than me, so we just have to have some backup on the team for making sure that if people roll off, like Michael rolled off, so, we just have to have coverage for those kinds of things. Similar issue that I'll bring up just now, along those same lines, Lori, is that RiverCog is also a membership based. So it's the RiverCog, so it's River Community of Governments, Council of Governments, rather. So RiverCog, it's called, RCOG. And the housing subcommittee of RiverCog has a representative and an alternate from Old Lyme. And right now, our representative is Michael Fogliano, but of course he's now resigned. So we are now going to need to select a new member for RiverCog and an alternate for RiverCog, for the housing committee on RiverCog. And so I attended the meeting last week with Michael. It's all remote, so all Zoom. And so we attended the meeting last week, but it's up to, I believe, Martha to Schumacher to appoint somebody to RiverCog, to the Housing Commission. And in the past, like I said, it's been Michael Fogliano. I am fully capable of attending those meetings. I know the people there and that kind of stuff from Habitat, et cetera. But if there's anybody else on the commission that is interested in joining that, either as a representative or as an alternate, if you could let me know, that would be great. It's only like once, maybe sometimes twice a month, but usually only once a month. They give a lot of great information about like the state legislature bills, things that are happening at the state, Department of Housing, that kind of stuff. Not all of it pertains to us as far as Old Lyme goes, but a lot of it is very informative, and it's just kind of good to get a steer in that direction on what the state is planning on doing, or what other towns in our area. RiverCog, they're basically out of Essex, so it covers kind of southeastern Connecticut. I think 16 towns in our area. So it's very pertinent to us, as a town of Old Lyme. And I believe that Lyme has a representative on it from their selectman's office as well.
What time of
So-
day is that? Is that in the evening, during the day?
No, it's during the day. Yeah, it's yeah, unfortunately, Sean, it's it's kind of like midday, I would say. It was like 10 to 12, something like that. Yeah. Yeah, so for
Michael,
working people, it's kind of I'm sorry, go ahead. I'm sorry I cut somebody off.
It's Amy. Michael and I went and dealt with them several years ago, and they were really helpful and great.
Yeah.
So
Super
yeah,
super knowledgeable experts in housing specifically.
they do have some.
Yeah. Amy, would you be interested in being an alternate on that?
Sure.
Okay, I think that would be valuable, with all your background as well. So let me see if I can get that through, and I'll contact Martha I'll add that to my Martha list for talking to her tomorrow. So it'll be good. Very good. Okay, cool. Any other conversation on anything to do with that as far as development projects go, or state of Connecticut issues?
No.
Okay. Has anybody received any correspondence or new business that they want to discuss? Okay, well, I'm gonna back up just a wee bit and say very much welcome Sheila and Sean to our team. We haven't met before, and so and I want to thank George for being here as well as our guest. And but I think that the commission is really looking for, we're such a small group, so it's only a few of us. So we're such a small group. So I want to make sure that we all engage with each other in an open manner and make sure that, nobody's going to challenge anybody here. It's just going to be completely open. And we have to do what's best for the town of Old Lyme and to progress our mission, basically, to create a diversity of housing in Old Lyme and make sure that that is accessible for people. If you haven't already been able to partake on our website, which Fred and I will be updating, but probably in the next like 3 weeks, I would say. But if you haven't seen it, we have our POCD plan, which is on the website, and that has to be updated every 5 years. And next year that'll be coming up again as our another renewal. It's required by the state of Connecticut that we have a housing plan, and that is on our website. It was a lot of work to put that together, and if you could take a look at that and give me feedback on that. I want to start trying to understand where we need to update that for the town of Old Lyme going forward. Because when we put that together years ago, it was a rush. It was a huge, rush job. We had a consultant. We had kind of fancy graphics and all that, but we probably won't have that this time. So I want to be able to make sure that we put our thought into it, and the whole commission that we've been working with for the last 5 years to put our thought into this new plan or the revision of the plan, basically. I don't think we need to update it tremendously, but it does have to be updated. So we'll get new numbers and stuff like that from the state as to what our housing population is, what our demographics are going forward. For the background of the folks on the call, our AMI, which area median income, our AMI is in the 85,000 and north area. So that is actually one of the highest in the southeast, outside of Westchester and the southern Connecticut area. So we have a very high AMI. However, the need for housing in Old Lyme is in the 40 to 60% AMI range. So like everybody cites these numbers that, 80% AMI for, I think I saw on the website a couple days ago, firefighters and the teachers and that kind of stuff. They're 80% AMI. Our need in Old Lyme is the 40 to 60% range. So there is a population in Old Lyme that is really struggling to and they're paying over 50% of their income to afford to live here in a house. So our need is in the 40 to 60% AMI range. We are not necessarily trying to build homes or provide accommodations for people making $87,000 a year, which is 80% of AMI. We want to actually target that other population that is looked over, and that's in the lower range of AMI. So it's not necessarily a mission. Affordable housing, you can call it what you want, single starter homes or family starter homes or things like that. It's affordable housing really, to me, means making it that someone in that range, in our need, 40 to 60% of AMI can actually afford to live in Old Lyme on a, on a good basis. So, that's just my opinion. That's not our mission. Our mission is still to be, affordable housing by the state guidelines, and the federal guidelines means 80% of AMI. But the need in Old Lyme clearly is in the lower ranges of that. And I would say in New London County, that is actually the range too, not just Old Lyme. So my rant for the day. So George, you're on mute if you wanted to say
Sorry,
something.
no, that's very useful. I mean, as the 2022 housing plan says, Old Lyme has less than 2% affordable housing and hasn't created any for more than 20 years. So that's a pretty big challenge for a community that wants not to go downhill.
Yeah. We were at 1.6% back then. We are lower than that now because of COVID, because a lot of people snapped up properties during COVID. So we are below 1.6% now for sure. Sean, you were going to say something?
No, I sent you a text with an idea for the grant that you can look at after the meeting.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. Okay, well, so that brings us to really any other new business. Is there anything anybody else wants to talk about? Okay, hearing none. Our next meeting will be on May 7th.
Hold on, Jen.
Uh-huh.
Sheila had her hand up, but you can't
Thank you,
see that.
Sean.
Oh, I'm
Thank you.
sorry, I didn't see you.
No,
Sheila.
no. That's okay. I don't use Teams a whole lot, so I'm just clicking things. It's not really new business. I just, again, everyone, I apologize for getting the time mixed up. However, is there anything that you need help with in securing that intent to file, or is there anything that we can do? Because it sounds like these things are a whole lot of work for you.
The intent to file is very straightforward. It's just a PDF form online, so that's no problem. The work is in putting together a package for what we're going to deliver, and that will be, really, we should be working on it now to identify, not just identify the project, but actually get all the ducks in a row, basically, if you will. The application being so large, includes information like, for instance, I'll give you for instance on how tedious this is. There was probably 4 or 5 pages on what are the history of projects that the town of Old Lyme has done before from the state of Connecticut money that was used, and how successful were they, and when did you use the money? So it's a lot of stuff that doesn't have anything at all to do with us. It has to do with like the town of Old Lyme, and it's just a monotonous list of questions that have nothing to do with your project. It has to do with how successful has the town of Old Lyme been in spending government money in the past, and give me an example or 3 examples of things that were done where the state of Connecticut gave you money and you spent it, And, so I was trying like the Mile Creek Bridge. I'm like, pulling my hair out, trying to figure out like what projects, but there wasn't, to me, there wasn't a person in Old Lyme that knew any of that. You had, I had to go to the town clerk. I had to go to the tax place. I had to go to the selectman's office, to figure out like what projects did the town of Old Lyme do in the past 3 years. I have no idea, I only, because I live on Mile Creek, so I know they built a Mile Creek Bridge. So,
Right.
So there's all kinds of little things like that are a peripheral information, I would say. Nothing to do with the project. It's all to do with how well is your town going to abide by the rules and regulations of the money that we entrust you with? And it's all well-founded, you know, it's all
Sure.
well-founded. But we don't have a town manager, so there is no one in the town that you can go to that
Mhm.
knows those things. So,
Fine.
yeah.
Okay.
So,
So
yeah.
is there anything that we could be doing to be prepared for the May 7th meeting, considering we may go forward with applying for the grant? Is it just look?
Yeah, I don't think if Sheila, if anybody on the commission has any ideas about the a specific plan or a specific development opportunity, that those would be the only things, you know. Otherwise,
Okay.
I'm probably gonna shift it over to Frank and Soundview and see if he wants to get sewers and sidewalks done. So,
Okay. All right. Thank you.
yeah, absolutely. Thanks for asking. All right. Anybody else have any questions? Okay, well, look, can I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Thank you, Sean. Second?
Second.
Thank you, Sheila. All right, and we will see everybody next month. And in the meantime, if you have any further comments, just shoot them my way.
I got
Thanks, Jen. Hope to be there in person next month.
I'll be there in person next month, I promise.
Me.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Everyone.
All right. Thank you. Nice to meet you, Sean. And is this Lori? Nope. Sure. Okay.